Welcome to Miyconst Hardware. In my previous benchmark video, I compared Xeon E5-2697 V3 with Core i3-12100 in 20 different games, but that time I have only used the games which have a built-in gaming benchmark. These benchmark numbers do not represent online gaming experience with these two CPUs. That's why in this video I'm going to compare Xeon E5-2697 V3 against Core i3-12100 in 5 different online FPS shooters. Testing online FPS shooters is a real challenge because it is not possible to get consistent results. Every time you may get different FPS number even if you are using the same system on the same server on the same map. The performance may depend on what the online players are doing at what moment of time. That's why I was forced to spend a few hours playing each game on each of the CPUs. It's really time-consuming and I think I deserve a like for that. So, with this kind of performance consistency problems when playing online games, it is not possible to make simple one-to-one FPS comparison between the two CPUs. It is important to talk about the overall gaming experience, what you can expect and what you feel like playing this or that game using this or that CPU. And this is what I can achieve by playing each game multiple hours, so I can describe my experience, but also provide you some FPS numbers. With this, let's go into the test results and see how it goes. The first tested game is PUBG or PlayerUnknown's Battleground. This is a rather old game with almost no optimization. Still, we have got DirectX 12 support here, and I'm going to use this API for testing my CPUs. The good thing about PUBG is that it is possible to save a game replay and then use it for consistent FPS measurements. So, with the Xeon E5-2697 V3, I am getting 190 FPS on average and about 35 FPS 0.1% low. In certain cases, the game is unplayable. For example, when driving in a car and quickly moving across the map, the aiming is impossible. In other cases, the game might be totally playable. With Core i3-12100F, I have got a much better experience. On average, it delivers 220 FPS and 0.1% low is 55 FPS. The game would still occasionally stutter here and there, especially when driving, but it is nothing compared to the Xeon E5's performance. The next game is Fortnite. This one also started with the DirectX 11, but right now we also have DirectX 12 support, and this is what I'm going to use, because with the DirectX 11, Xeon E5 performance is just horrible. Just like in PUBG, in Fortnite we have the replay function that can be used for consistent FPS measurements. So, Xeon E5-2697 V3 delivers about 285 FPS on average, with the 74 FPS 0.1% low. In general, while gaming, I did not experience any major hiccups or stutters, and the gaming experience was rather pleasant. So, I would say it's a good result for Xeon E5. Core i3-12100F is technically better than Xeon E5 in Fortnite. It delivers 295 FPS on average and 98 FPS 0.1% low, but honestly, when playing the game with these two CPUs, I didn't really feel the difference. Both of the CPUs are delivering good, smooth experience, and keep in mind that I have tested with AMD RX 7900 XT, so if you pair these two CPUs with a budget graphics card, there will be basically no difference between these two CPUs in Fortnite. Moving on to Apex Legends. This game does not have built-in benchmark and it also does not have the replay function. That's why the FPS numbers are definitely not going to be accurate. Still, it is good enough to understand the general performance between these two CPUs and see how the game in general performs with the Xeon and Core i3. So Xeon E5-2697 V3 renders 143 FPS on average, and 0.1% low is just 1 FPS under the magical 60 FPS mark. It's 59 FPS. In these games, Xeon performs really well, and occasional stutters here and there do not ruin the gaming experience. It was enjoyable. Core i3-12100F delivers almost identical experience. On average, we have 141 FPS, and 0.1% lows are staying on the mark of 57 FPS. So technically it's a slightly lower result than Xeon E5, but keep in mind that each online game is different, and this is just a margin of error. Overall, the gaming experience between these two CPUs was pretty much identical, and some occasional stutters with Core i3 are about the same as the occasional stutters with the Xeon E5 CPU. Thus, I would say it's the game's problem, not the CPU's problem.
No good. I've been down.
Now let's talk about Battlefield 2042. This game is notoriously hard to test, because it is not even possible to pick a map I want to play on. And when I have 128 online players, the results are very different. It really depends on what these 128 online players are gonna do at any particular moment of time. I had to spend several hours playing the game with both of the CPUs to be able to collect benchmark results from the same map. So with the Xeon E5-2697 V3, I have got about 140 FPS on average and 40 FPS 0.1% low. Overall, the gaming experience was surprisingly positive, but sometimes I would get into the frustrating moments when I would die because the game stutters and it does not react quickly to my input when I need to shoot back or when I need to take cover.
Hostiles are trying to seize one of our objectives.
On the other hand, with Core i3-12100F, on average I have got slightly worse result, 122 FPS, and the 0.1% low is also lower at about 36 FPS. Also, the CPU is at 90–100% utilization all the time. Still, somehow this quad-core i3-12100 is able to deliver better gaming experience. Occasionally, I would still get those frustrating moments when game stutters, but if I compare the experience between Core i3 and Xeon E5, I feel like Xeon E5 stutters significantly more than Core i3. Another interesting game is BattleBit Remastered. This indie game is on the rise right now, and it's getting more and more popular. What's bad about the game is that it's developed by a small team and they do not have capacity of those large AAA titles, so they decided to go with the DirectX 11 API instead of DirectX 12, because as far as I know, DirectX 11 is much easier to use than DirectX 12. Unfortunately, this is really bad for the Xeon E5 CPUs, because in this game it fails to deliver acceptable performance. The game is simply unplayable. It is a massive stuttery mess with huge frame drops, so simply it is not possible to play the game with the Xeon E5-2697 V3. On the other hand, Core i3-12100F delivers respectable 186 FPS on average and 75 FPS 0.1% lows. Really, there is not much more to say here. If you're playing online games that use DirectX 11 API, Core i3-12100 is the go-to option. Xeon E5 is simply not capable at delivering a playable experience in this kind of games. Finally, I would like to mention Call of Duty Warzone 2. Originally, I also planned to test this game, but right in the middle of my testing, Activision decided to roll out an update. That update completely ruined the game, at least for me. The game turned into a stuttery mess and it was completely unplayable. I have tried everything I could possibly try. I even reinstalled my Windows and reinstalled the game to make sure that I have clean installation, yet the game was a stuttering mess. So at this point I can only quote Nick Merckx and say, just leave the kids alone. I guess some of you are waiting for some sort of a conclusion after the test results, but really these test results are speaking for themselves and there is no conclusion needed. Core i3 is simply a better gaming CPU. Of course, there will be some Xeon lovers which will claim that I have done everything wrong, I have used the wrong graphics card, I have used wrong settings, I have used wrong games, and they have everything working perfectly fine, very smooth and excellent gaming experience. Well, in this case I can only say that I'm very happy for you. But for the vast majority of gamers, buying Core i3-12100 is a much smarter idea than buying an old Xeon E5-2697 V3. Especially it is for those who are planning to play games that are using old DirectX 11 API that is utilizing only 1 or 2 CPU cores. If you are playing DirectX 12 only games, then Xeon E5 is not that bad of an idea, but overall, no matter how you look at it, Core i3-12100 is a better gaming CPU. And with this I have to say, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, I hope I have helped someone, and I hope it was interesting. Bye for now.